It was one of the most anticipated events on television in recent history. For the first time, a debate between a sitting president and a former president. But when it was all said and done, there was no doubt that President Trump was the clear winner.
The total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look,
of the Delaware County GOP podcast. Thank you for being with us today. The mass panic among Democrats began 13 minutes into the debate. President Joe Biden trying to answer a question about the national debt. Suddenly, he confused trillionaires with billionaires, but then corrected himself. He then stumbled over millions and billions. Then he started to list things he was hoping to pay for with his Bidenomics plan. But then something went wrong. He lost his train of thought, stumbled around, and then just paused while looking down at the floor. When he popped his head up and we thought he may have recovered, he blurted out some nonsensical line saying, "We finally beat Medicare." Listen.
Make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death.
And so it went through the debate. The headlines were brutal. On the Drudge Report, Operation Replace Biden. Dems scramble with 130 days to go. Debate catastrophe. On CNN, painful Biden debate sends Democrats into a very aggressive panic. On the New York Post, just sad. Prez mumbles, stumbles, freezes in train wreck debate versus Trump. The headline on the WVLT. Steve, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Dan, glad to be here. How are you today?
Fine, Steve. My phone has been blowing up, and I can't tell you the amount of freakout I am seeing from Democrats over how Biden performed in that debate. Give me your assessment.
Well, I'll tell you what, I wasn't disappointed. I wasn't surprised. The bottom line was Joe had to accomplish a few things. He had to be able to stand up for over an hour and a half, and he had to answer questions directly. So we all kind of knew that he was going to have cognitive issues. I'm shocked that they didn't have him jacked up more on steroids and Adderall and B12, but he did the best he could considering his cognitive abilities. And Trump held his own. I'll tell you one thing, Trump was patient. He wanted to chew his head off, and Trump looked more like a patient president as opposed to an angry old man like Joe appeared last night.
You know, they were hiding him all along, Steve. They were telling us, every time he fell down or something, they would say, that's a cheap fake. That's not the real video. It's a fake video. But for an hour and a half, we saw him out there uninterrupted, unedited, and you saw the real thing. That was not a cheap fake. That was the real thing, Steve.
You're right. And Dan, you and I are Christians, and we give people the benefit of the doubt, and we trust that they have good intentions. Unfortunately, with Joe, his health issues are concerning to me. And I'll tell you why. My daughter graduated from law school at Rutgers back in 2006. And Joe was the keynote speaker there. He was a senator at the time. And I said to myself, this is going to be awesome. Even though I'm conservative, I said, I'm really looking forward to this. He kept calling Iraq, Vietnam. He never said anything that was encouraging to the graduates, like go out and take the world on. You've worked hard. Go make your mark in society. He just stumbled and bumbled. And there were issues back then, and we see it again, but it's only worse 20, 30 years later.
It is sad, not just for his family, and I feel, bad for them, but how could they put him through this? Not just the family, but put the country through this, and not to mention, the world leaders all around the world who saw this last night.
Well, Dan, I say I've been on the radio since 2010. I've said for years that it was easy being on the radio during the Obama and even back in Clinton years prior to that time. And there was usually one issue a month that was a scandal. We have scandals every day of the week now coming out of Washington, this administration. And I don't think Joe has anything to do with them. I think he is unfortunately has puppet strings, and there's other people making decisions. And as compassionate people, I think it's elder abuse is going on there. And whoever set him up to be prepared for that debate last night, they failed because he looked like had a blank stare. He looked like he wanted to be really angry, and he looked like all that time that he took off, he was not prepared for that debate.
Even so, there are some who believe Biden will not step down. He himself has said he is not going to step down. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that he does step down. Who's going to replace him? Do you really think it's going to be Kamala Harris?
Well, actually, I just got off the phone prior to this broadcast or recording with Joe himself. He was calling me from North Carolina. And he said, Steve, would you be willing to fill in for me and run for president? I said, no, I'm busy. I got grandchildren and everything. But, here's the problem. The Democrat Party, Dan, they're weak on true candidates, folks that don't have baggage, don't have history, don't have financial conflicts.
Well, some Democrats would love to see Michelle Obama in there, and they're thinking this might be the case. Do you think Michelle might step in here?
No, Michelle's a smart woman. Let me tell you something. They're living comfortably. They're living high on the hog. They're multimillionaires. Why would she want to subject her family and herself and Barack? Because then it's going to open up the can of worms where Barack, if we're going to bring up, he spied on a presidential campaign. He weaponized the federal government, even worse than, not as much as Joe, I should say. So all those old skeletons, Benghazi, everything's going to come up again. Why would Michelle want that? They're living the good life right now.
Well, you also have Hillary out there waiting in the wings, waiting for an invitation. What about her?
Well, I like Hillary's chances to run for president of Glee Club, not for the Democrat Party, because Hillary, if she had any kind of background that people would feel comfortable with, they would have put her up, in 2020. They would have considered her this particular time, but she has surfaced to try to make herself relevant in the last at least 3 or 4 weeks now.
Well, all I know is the Biden campaign is circling the wagon, Steve. Stay tuned. Steve Diorio, radio talk show host with WVLT Cruisin 92.1. Steve, tell people where they can hear your show.
They can catch me on 92.1 FM, most of the listener districts from Delaware County on down to South Jersey, parts of Delaware and Maryland. And we love Pennsylvania. We love Delaware County, which Delaware County is on the move. Frank Agavino has really turned this ball around, and we're dribbling again, and we're taking shots from the 3-point range. You have some great candidates running in Delco, Dan.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Thank you, Steve-O. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. God bless.
Now, just the other day in North Philadelphia, thousands of supporters gathered at the Mina Quarles Center at Temple University for the first ever Trump rally in Philadelphia, one of the most bluest Democratic cities in the country, a city that is considered a Biden stronghold, and a city that Biden has gone to more than anywhere else. And this at a time when, for the second month in a row, Trump has outraised the current president, Joe Biden, in campaign contributions, including a single $50 million donation from billionaire Timothy Mellon.
Hello, Pennsylvania. It's good to be with you. I'm thrilled to be back at the birthplace of American freedom with thousands and thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots, which is what you are. With your help, 5 months from now, we're going to win this Commonwealth. We're going to evict crooked Joe Biden from the White House. And we are going to make America great again.
We will be talking more about the presidential debate in a moment, but first, Trump supporters had lined up outside the Mina Quarles Center in North Philadelphia for hours for the chance to see former President Trump. This despite the severe heat warnings and almost 100-degree temperatures before the doors were set to open at 3 p.m. Supporters there from all across the region. Here's what some of them had to say.
Tell me why you guys wanted to be among the first here for the first Trump rally in Philadelphia.
Yeah, well, I was here 4:30 this morning.
Wow.
Been hanging out ever since.
Really?
Yeah.
In this heat, this devastating heat out here today.
Well, I got a little chilly a couple times. Somebody lent me their sweater, so I was all right.
Oh, man, I doubt that. How about you? Why did you want to be among the first here?
Well, I want to be one of the first ones in and get some of the best seats. That's me.
Yeah, you're guaranteed that. You're among the first here, first few 50, 100 people.
That's right.
Where y'all
That's right.
from?
I'm from Lower Bucks County, Levittown.
I'm from Aston, Delaware County. We've been here since 9 a.m.
Awesome, 9 a.m.
9 a.m.
Okay, what's it been like out here in this heat?
Hot, humid, gotta stay hydrated, put your sunscreen on, bathroom breaks, take breaks in the shade, and
Tell me why you made that sacrifice today.
to get better seats, and hopefully we get behind Trump and get some stuff signed and get him back in office.
There you go. What about you, sir? Why did you want to be among the first here for the first Trump rally in Philadelphia?
Because I wanted to be in front, and so I could see him and show him my support.
How important is it to get Trump back in office?
Oh, it's very, very important. Not only for the border, but for the jobs here. When he was in office first time, where he actually brought a lot of the businesses, all big corporations from Mexico and overseas, brought them back to here, and so much more. You know, keep the illegals out and deport them, because they're just taking up all my tax dollars.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you very much.
An impressive crowd from all backgrounds gathered at the Liacouras Center, including many African Americans and people of color from across Philadelphia and beyond. People concerned about the economy, the border, and illegal immigration, jobs, gas prices, and inflation.
Tell me why you wanted to come show your support for Donald Trump today.
Because he's the greatest president we ever had. And I did not want him originally, and now I have to have him.
You have to have him now.
Yes, because our country
You've seen
is
4
shit.
years of Biden and what
Yes.
has happened, right?
Yes, exactly. And this country is dirt right
Have you ever
now.
seen the country as bad as it has been the last
No,
4 years?
no. It's actually very, very scary.
All right.
Very scary.
Go
So we need Trump. Go Trump.
All right. What about you, sir? Tell me why you want to show your support today for Donald Trump.
Oh, we need to get Donald Trump back in office, no question about it.
Yes.
We got to get Biden out, or whoever they're going to put in as a substitute for him, because I doubt he'll be here in November.
Yes. What are the biggest issues as far as you're concerned?
There are several. You've got the border, you've got the economy, jobs, just everything that Trump has done for this country that Biden has stopped.
Yes.
And we need to get it all reinstituted, lower taxes.
Now, among those speaking at the rally was Dave McCormick, candidate for U.S. Senate in Pennsylvania. He spoke about illegal immigration and his recent visit to the U.S. border.
In the middle of the night at 2 in the morning, I watched 50 people walk right across the border where the wall was open. 5 of them illegal military-age men from Syria, 5 of them Chinese nationals. The border is an absolute disgrace, an absolute crisis. This week alone, we had three separate occasions where illegal immigrants were charged for murder or rape.
Ladies and gentlemen, now joining us on Street Beat is Dave McCormick. Hi, and welcome to Street Beat.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
You were at the Trump rally. You were speaking at the Trump rally recently in North Philadelphia. You made some very impressive comments there. And then President Trump took the stage and he called you back on the stage to make some more remarks.
That was something. Well, it was my first Trump rally, so the energy in the room is incredible. And, President Trump had asked to see me when he first got there. And so he told me he might call me up. And, what I thought was great was the incredible diversity in the audience, the energy in the audience. And the reason for this is that these problems, we're facing a crisis. We're facing an economic crisis where people don't feel economic security. Inflation's running away. 60% of Pennsylvanians are living paycheck to paycheck. Right. Physical security, the wide open border, the war on fossil fuels, all of these things, these problems are not Republican problems or Democrat problems. They're just problems for Pennsylvania and the country. And I think what President Trump did in that rally, and what I'm trying to do in my campaign, is bring together people and say, listen, we need leadership to get our country going in the right direction. And that rally felt like it had that kind of energy.
Yes. I know you've been all over the Commonwealth, putting in a lot of miles, and here you are in Springfield, and you're here talking about families and trying to keep families together. Why don't you elaborate on the 4 policies you would like to push to help families, not just in Pennsylvania, but across the nation?
Well, the starting point is our families are really in trouble. Many children grow up without 2 parents in their home. Their likelihood of having, productive lives and going on and not having behavioral issues and so forth goes down when you don't have a strong family unit. And it's getting very expensive prohibitively expensive to have children. And so fewer and fewer families are having children. So people aren't having enough children to keep the size of our country the same size. We're losing in terms of the size of our population. So having families, healthy families, is really critical. And I recommended a number of things, but the key thing is to find ways to support families from parenthood, from early childhood, and helping families have children, all the way through the later stages of life and retirement. And a couple things that I recommended was, first and foremost, supporting IVF or fertilization. Like most families now can't afford the cost of IVF, and so it's prohibitive. So I recommended a tax credit of $15,000 per family, 2 tax years, which would help people that couldn't afford to have IVF, otherwise have IVF, which gives them the opportunity to have children.
Yes.
Children should only be an option for people that are wealthy. The other thing I recommended was doubling down on the child tax credit that President Trump had in his 2017 tax bill. Right now, that's at risk of not being extended, particularly if Republicans don't win the House and the Senate, and President Trump doesn't win the White House. And in that, there was a child tax credit. I recommended that we double that child tax credit because, unfortunately, having children cost about $15,000 a year per kid.
Yes.
So if you're a family that is, a family that makes $50,000 or $60,000 a year, you can't afford to have children. And then the third thing I recommend is putting restrictions on social media, which is controversial, but we're now seeing that 20% of all kids have mental health issues.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing that it's directly tied to social media, the addictive quality of social media. There's enormous opportunity to exploit kids on social media, sexual predators. We need to protect children from that. So I would ban social media access for kids under 16 and then allow them to have, when they can make more mature choices. This is just like we don't let kids have cigarettes. This is just like we don't let kids buy guns or have alcohol, right? So this is a way to protect children from what we're now seeing can be very damaging to them on social media. School choice is the final thing that creates opportunity for all.
Right.
So right now, we do have school choice in our country. The people that have money can choose to send their kids anywhere they want.
Right.
But if you're living paycheck to paycheck, which 60% of Pennsylvanians are, your kids are going to go to the school that's in their district, the public schools in their district. Some of those public schools are great. Some of those are failing terribly. And in general, our schools are failing us. And so the best way to deal with that is to create choice for all students. So the taxpayer dollars we put into our school system, we should put that into the kid.
Yes.
And the kid should have the choice to go to any school they want that's certified. And that'll allow them to go to parochial schools. That will allow them to go to charter schools. That'll create competition among our schools and ensure that the great schools will prosper and grow. And the schools that aren't good enough will either improve dramatically or fall away,
Yes.
which is exactly what should happen. We owe our kids a much better education. Something like only 27% of kids in our high school actually are proficient in math.
That's sad.
You can't be a great country.
No.
There's one of the statistics in my speech, there's 37 industrialized countries. We're 27th in our education system. You can't remain the greatest country in the world if your education system lags behind the majority of the industrialized world.
Yes, indeed. You're right about that. Now, from your opponent's point of view, Casey, who, by the way, Trump has referred to as an empty suit, the 2024 election is going to be about one word: rights. And he has been trying to paint you in TV ads as taking away abortion rights, no matter what the circumstances. How would you respond to that?
Well, it's a lie is the way I'd start to respond to it, and there's a lot of lies. So what you now see is someone who's been in office 30 years, 18 years in the Senate, and he's in trouble. He's unpopular. He's below 50 in his favorabilities, and the polls are closing. And so he's starting to attack and tell a bunch of lies. On abortion, my view is it's a state's right. My view is that I don't support either extreme. I don't support any abortion ban. I don't support federal legislation. Pennsylvania has a law. I would support that law continuing to stay in place. I don't think that law is going to change. I'm in favor of the 3 exceptions. And Senator Casey has changed more than any other senator in the Senate on his position. He ran as a pro-life senator, and now he recently signed an abortion law, or a law which would have allowed abortion up until the due date. And so my position is I'll stand by the people of Pennsylvania and making them their decision. The law we have was signed by a guy named Governor Casey.
Yes.
And the extremist on this is the junior or the Bob Casey Jr., who has taken the most extreme position of the Democratic Party.
Now, from President Trump's perspective, it's going to be largely about money and the economy. Would you agree?
And immigration. I think immigration is a defining issue. So I think what's happened at our border has put America at risk. We see it with the fentanyl crisis that killed 4,000 Pennsylvanians, almost 100,000 nationally last year. We see it with the many people coming into our country and not being apprehended. They're on the terrorist watch list. We saw just last week these 8 people from Tajikistan. We see it in the sanctuary cities, the crime, the economic burden. So I think the economy is a defining issue for voters, but I also think the border and immigration is a defining issue for the voters. And I think the voters in Pennsylvania are deeply troubled by both.
Dave McCormick, candidate for Pennsylvania to do about money and the economy and President Trump's deep understanding of how to fix it. She was asked to speak and made a very powerful speech at President Trump's rally in North Philadelphia. She is a major community organizer with Trump Force 47. She's a Philly block captain and community activist, was born and raised in Philly by a single mother. She has 3 lovely children, and she is a Trump Force 47 captain. Her name is Mina Quarles. Mina, welcome to Street Beat. So glad to have you with us today.
Oh, Dan, thank you. It is wonderful to be here. I'm really excited about this opportunity to talk about Trump Force 47.
First of all, what did you think of the debate?
I was sad, but I was also happy. Happy in the sense that President Trump presented very well. He was clear and precise, and I enjoyed hearing the message come forth. Sad because President Biden wasn't at his best, and I really didn't get a clear sense of his record and what his plan is for us for the next 4 years. So it just made me feel like it confirmed for me that President Trump is my choice.
It was sad for our country, wasn't it, to see that our leader, the commander-in-chief, it was in such a state, and I worried for our country and wondering about what are these world leaders around the world who are trying to pounce here and trying to pounce there. What must they be thinking?
Yes, and Dan, one of the things that I thought about, later on in that evening is we were lied to by the Democrat Party, and it was sad because it's everything that we knew, everything that we thought and that we saw. The Democrat Party tried to make it seem like we were either crazy or we weren't seeing these things. And it just made me very sad that they went as far as they did to lie to us.
Yes.
And I just feel bad for President Biden.
I feel bad for the country and all of the people that, we were lied to, as you said, and we were misled, and we believe, don't believe what you're seeing. It's fake or cheap fakes, what they called it. They're deep fakes, cheap fakes. That everything we were seeing, was not real, and that for an hour and a half last night, we saw during the debate what was the truth, and it was really disheartening, as you say, and sad. Now, many people in deep blue Philadelphia, President Biden's stronghold, as you know, traditionally vote Democrat by default. But what are you seeing in Philadelphia this time around that you think is going to make a difference on November 5th?
Well, I think what's making the difference, and not to toot my horn, but is individuals like me working and talking to our neighbors and making sure that we get the message out very clearly that President Trump is the choice. Like, he's the right person. He sponsored and he gave us criminal justice reform. We had the lowest unemployment rate under President Trump. And all of these things signal to me that he cares about us. You know, we hear so many times that there isn't a place for Black people in the Republican Party, or that President Trump doesn't care for us. But those things that he put in place shows that he cares. And so because of that, I'm excited to see him get back in office and work is extremely hard to make sure that he wins this time.
Mina, what I was impressed most about the rally is all of the diversity that was at the rally. We weren't just looking at one particular individual. We're looking at people from all backgrounds. That was truly impressive.
That was very impressive. So as a volunteer, I was able to get inside the venue very early on, and we were able to chat with each other. And it was beautiful to see everyone from all ethnic groups and all class and all backgrounds come together for this one opportunity to say, President Trump is our choice. And I was totally amazed and taken back by it. And I still am to this day. I love being in the place where my fellow Americans are like fighting to make sure that President Trump gets to the White House.
You made a very powerful speech at the Trump rally in North Philadelphia and got a huge applause when you were like on fire, urging people to get involved in Trump Force 47. What can people do? How can they get involved?
So Trump Force 47 will train you. It's geared towards recruiting and training individuals, residents, so that they can feel confident about going out and talking about President Trump and why he's the choice, the perfect choice for us, and talk to their family and friends. Because as you know, it's the neighbors and it's the residents who are going to solidify President Trump's presidency. We're working very hard to make sure that he gets back into the office. And how people can get involved is you can either become a captain, and then if you're not sure, if you don't feel like committing to becoming a captain, you can do a lot of things. You can make phone calls. And right now there's a big, strong push. We need a lot of volunteers to help us make those phone calls. You can become an election board member. We can help you do that. We can help you fill out the paperwork, everything that you need to become an election board member. You can help deliver yard signs. We need people to get the yard signs out so that people can see that President Trump has a strong and visible presence in Philadelphia. I think if people are like me, I love Philadelphia because it's the birthplace of America. So what the best way to say President Trump is our candidate by sending him from Philadelphia? Philadelphia having a role and a stake in saying that's our president.
Mina, you are awesome. And I'm left speechless because what can I say after a great presentation like that? Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Oh, Dan, thank you so much for having me, and thank you to the
to say that we have been at the door-to-door efforts today for the better part of 5 hours now. I'm out here with my family. Here's my daughter, Natalie. Here's my daughter, Ellie. My wife and my son were out here earlier, but 5 hours is a lot for a 3-year-old, so they bailed a little bit ago. We had a lot of great conversations today, connected with a lot of folks. So glad to make those connections, hear what is important to people, and just to get out and shake some hands and make some new connections. So we're going to be at this again in the future. Thank you. God bless and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Our next guest on Street Beat is Jeff Jones, who's running for state representative in the 163rd District. That includes part of Upper Darby Township, also includes Clifton Heights Borough, Alden Borough, and part of Darby Township. He currently lives in Drexel Hill with his wife and 5 children. Mr. Jones, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Dan. How are you? Thank you for having me.
First of all, what did you think of the debate?
You know, I think the debate clearly demonstrated to the American people who the best choice is. With that being said, my biggest takeaway was that it also demonstrated the importance of local government. We need, in our district, in the 163rd district, we need government that's going to serve the people. And the important thing of giving laws back to the states or having states willing to step up and actually serve the people. And that's why I'm running for the 163rd legislative seat.
Well, you're running on a pretty great distance of your district encompasses a lot of territory and a lot of people. And I was most impressed with your campaign is that you were a write-in candidate. People actually had to write in your name in order to vote for you, man. That was impressive. How did you do that?
Well, God blessed me with an easy name. Jeffrey Jones is pretty easy to remember, but it was a lot of work. I had a great team. I had great support from members of the community. And I think it was important to just get one message across to them. They deserve to have a choice in November. And by writing me in, that gave them a choice to really think about in November.
You must have had done a lot of door knocking and a lot of running around trying to reach the voters all over the place in all that area that we mentioned in the 163rd. Right? How many miles did you put on those shoes?
Well, it was exhausting. It really was, and you know, I didn't get to everyone. I didn't get everywhere I wanted to be. I will rectify that and knock doors and talk to the voters. But we did. You know, we had one mission in mind, and that was to give folks a choice. And we were blessed with, I think, 1,400 write-in votes in that primary election. I think I had close to 1,300 of those 1,400 write-in votes in some variation of my name. So that's awesome. I'm just thankful that we got there, but now the work starts again.
From going out and talking to the people in the district, what are those issues that are impacting people that you want to go and do something about?
There's a variety of them, but the fundamentals kind of summarized in quality of life. You know, we're paying $4 a dozen for eggs. We're paying $3.50 a gallon for gas. You know, crime is an issue. It's you know, and there's multi-layers to that. There's less police on the street. There's taxes are going up. There's just so many different things, but that all kind of summarizes in that quality of life. So my desire is to serve the district in such a way that we maintain a certain level of quality of life. We realize that we all live in the 163rd district for a reason. That's why we stay there, and we want to maintain that, but we also want to improve it. We want better schools. We want better streets. We want safety, and I want to bring that to the people.
Now, you're a small business owner and also a real estate manager who's been involved in Upper Darby community activities for decades. What message do you have out there for the voters who might still be sitting on the fence about who to vote for on November 5th?
I think the people of the 163rd district need to remember they want someone who's going to serve the people, not a party, not a personal agenda for power, but the people themselves. The government is designed to be about we the people, right? We vote for our leaders. We vote for the people we want to make the laws that help us all, that benefit us all. And I just don't believe that's what we have right now. You know, I'm not going to disparage anybody. The facts are what they are. How's life working for you right now? It's been this way for a while. It's time for something different. It's time for a person who truly wants to work towards the district and making the district a better place and a better quality of life. And that's what I bring to the table.
Jeff Jones, you're a great man.